Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Just going to give a couple of minutes or a minute or so just to let a few people in the lobby just filing through. But yeah, as I say, thanks for taking the time to come and join us this morning to go through a very quick and hopefully straightforward webinar on the importance of understanding the compatibility between basically anything you're going to wear on your head that's going to sit between you and the safety helmet you're wearing. Going to demonstrate sort of, it's, I guess, twofold, the webinar. Firstly, demonstrating why it's an issue and safety concerns that it can have for both you and individuals around you. And then I'm just going to talk to you about the options that we've got here at JSP in terms of thermal liners, that allow the wearer to keep warm when working outdoors, particularly, it's pretty cold here today. I don't know, about where you guys are at, but, sort of around 2 degrees. You're going to want to keep warm when you're working outside and wearing a safety helmet. And then I'm also going to reference just products from potentially other manufacturers in terms of workwear that produce products that maybe JSP don't, that will have benefit for your workforce that need to be worn, but also need to understand that they're compatible with the safety helmet of choice. And in reference to the change, we're not going to go through the whole EN 397 2025 change that's coming into effect. We have got a webinar that's been recorded and is on our YouTube that you can go watch if you want to understand a little bit more about it. But I will be referencing the importance of approved and tested compatible product in relation to that new head protection standard. Question-wise, if you do have any questions as we go through, what I'll do is I'll save them all to the end, and I will take the opportunity to hear any questions you've got if you want to put them in the chat function on Teams. My colleague Ray, that's sort of running the recording, we'll make sure I've got visibility of those, and I'll go through those there at the end. Okay, so without further ado, wearing anything between your head and your helmet that hasn't been tested with the safety helmet in question is an unsafe practice to do, and that's for a couple of reasons. Firstly, security of fit of the helmet. The ratchet where the slip or wheel needs to be able to grip the wearer's head effectively to ultimately stop that helmet falling off your head if you're looking up, looking down, and particularly if you're working, obviously at height. I appreciate we've got chin straps on those kind of helmets, but let's say you're working in an environment that is above ground, scaffolding, but it's not a working at height environment per se. If that helmet were to come loose and fall off, that's a risk to you. You're leaving yourself unprotected, but also a risk to those beneath you, right? Because that helmet then becomes a falling object that could strike another individual. So just as an example, I've got a woolly hat here that I'm going to pop on. So this is demonstration purposes only. And then if I take safety helmet and I try to grip that to my head, so nice and tight. Now you can see that it's precariously perched on top of the head to the thickness of the woolly hat. But if I'm doing work above me, like so, or looking down, I can feel that coming loose. And then bit by bit, it doesn't take much for that helmet to come flying off my head. Right now, I'm in a position where that helmet, I'm in a safe environment here, so it's not really the end of the world. But in a working environment, that helmet's come off my head, potentially falling, if I'm working on a scaffold or something, falling beneath me and striking an individual. And I'm also leaving myself unprotected. I'm sure, or for those of you that don't know, helmets are what we call a one-hit wonder product. If you were to have an impact on that product, so this is an Evo 3, we would recommend that you then replace and change that helmet to guarantee protection next time should unfortunately anything occur. That falling off my head is also going to strike the helmet hard enough that we would also recommend replacing it. So you're potentially losing a piece of PPE that would have otherwise been okay, right? So that's one issue. We've also then got the issue between the creating more, creating, I guess, more connection between the dropped object impact and your head. There's a gap in the suspension harness in a helmet to allow the helmet to dissipate and absorb the energy, so it doesn't go through to your neck as the wearer. The more you put, excuse me, in the helmet, the more you connect the head to the impact and the potential more damage you could do yourself. So, in short, they're not tested. They create barriers with security of fit, which could then leave you unprotected and put those around you at risk. Obviously, it's not just limited to woolly hats. It's anything that hasn't been tested. So that could be hoodies, hoods of jackets, as I say, hats of any description, really. Okay, so compatibility and understanding that the product's tested is key. From a JSP perspective, our main and sort of fastest moving products in terms of most popular are our thermal liners. Okay, so we've got black, high vis orange, coming medium large and large, extra large. Now, without the helmet, they're not necessarily the most flattering. So I'll put that on. But what you can see is that it's hugging my head in a much tighter way, right? So it's not a thick and woolly barrier between the ratchet and the back of my head. You can see here that it's snug all around. So if I then take safety helmet, put that on, we can already see that from a point of view of not being precariously perched on the top of my head, I've got a better fit. And I can look up, look down, and it's not going anywhere, okay? So it's a much more secure fit. We've obviously got the benefit here of covering the tops of my ears, keep them nice and warm, but also if I needed to wear ear defenders, I can turn those up and the ear defenders can come down, so it's not going to affect the compatibility of my wider PPE basket. Okay, and that's with the wheel ratchet. Just to demonstrate as well, we've got a slip ratchet option here. Get on the right way. That's tight to my head again. Okay, you can see it fits as it would any other, not going anywhere. So we test that in our test rig downstairs in our lab. So I'm at the moment, and our safety helmet factory is just beneath my feet. We do all of the testing in-house to understand compatibility, that we get the same level of impact performance and energy reduction, and also that we're going to get a good fit of the helmet and it's not going to come tumbling off the head. Now, I mentioned the new EN 397 2025 standard that's coming into force, and there's a number of changes that is a whole different webinar in itself. But one of the key elements is certified and approved compatible accessories with the safety helmet. So, for an example of like an item of PPE that's actually going to hang off the helmet, that needs to be certified compatible. So that's anything from an ear defender to a face shield. JSP is specialist in neck up. We have that full ensemble, and we understand that it's all going to work in harmony together, and we test it to back that up. And then in terms of products, they're going to be more almost adjacently to the safety helmet. So in this case, thermal liners, that needs to be approved or tested or certified compatible, so to speak. But we are also offering, to a degree, and within the ability to test and certify others' products. So this just as one example of one that's approved JSP compatible with our helmets. This is a workwear hijab from Leo Workwear that we worked closely with those that sent that in, and we were able to carry out an impact test and a fit test, and ultimately ensure that the helmet fits securely on the head and won't cause any issue in terms of lack of fit or reduction to impact performance. So the summary there really is that any form of barrier that's untested with the helmet is going to create a risk to you and the individual. And the only way to be sure that you're going to keep yourself safe, warm, and still keep your head protected is if you choose an item that's either tested or manufactured by us in terms of JSP, or is tested and approved compatible with the safety helmet. Okay. So I appreciate that this is a very sort of quite basic topic, and actually quite a short topic to cover. We've actually managed in 10 minutes as opposed to the allotted 20 there. But it is an opportunity for you to ask me any questions you may have about this or any others, to be honest, from the JSP perspective around head protection or any of our other products. We've got that time here that I can take to speak to you guys. As I say, it was quite an easy topic to get through in a short space of time there. So yeah, any questions? And Ray, if you can hear me, I think we've got a couple of people in the lobby there, and also just if you can make the chat visible for me, that'd be wonderful. Thank you. Okay, so as I say, you can put questions in the chat, observations, and as I say, it doesn't have to be limited to just the topic that this was about. If it's anything JSP related, I'm happy to answer. Okay, well, if there's no questions, as I say, I appreciate you signing in for quite a short webinar there. You'll receive a link to the recording, so you can access that at a later date. Share with your colleagues as well. I believe we'll also be posting it up on our YouTube. So it's just a point of reference, and if you're ever challenged on it by colleagues or anybody that says that they can wear something that isn't tested, you can use this as a sort of a horse's mouthpiece, so to speak, from the point of view of the manufacturer of why we don't recommend it, and it sort of removes the performance element of the helmet. Okay. So thanks for joining us for these 10 minutes, and yeah, we hope to see you on the next one. Thanks ever so much.